Well, hello everybody. I'm glad you could join us tonight. We have a special guest on tonight that is Allan Crowe, and you'll hear about his experience with PBM, and I think you'll find that most interesting. I just want to remind some of the newcomers that we have the Palm Ultimate, and that device has the 660 and the 810 nanometer wavelengths, and we will be giving one away for this month at the beginning of next month. So if you're watching us tonight, you'll be able to you automatically be entered in as a ballot into our draw. So we'll let you know early next month as to who the new winner is for October. So with all that being said, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it tonight. So also I'll mention that next week, Tuesday night, is the elections. And even though the elections are going on, we are still going to have our webinar, and I'll find out how the votes go after that. But most interested to see how things go. Make sure you get out and vote. Really, really important. So with that, let's go to Tom Talk 2.
15 years back, I realized that light could make a huge difference on the body. I ended up designing this very powerful light using LED technology. With this amount of very high power density, it can reach through the tissues and travel right to the joints. But the key is that the power density and the area is extremely important to deliver that light into that. The mitochondria receives that light and converts that energy into the cell. So it's like giving the cell super high octane fuel, and they run like a jet, and they're able to do all the things for repair in that. What are the products we have? Well, we have a small device, which is actually large when it comes to light therapy. You have a fairly large area of light and a high power density that can be used for different parts of the body, like your finger, shoulder, back, neck, knees, ankle, anywhere on the body. And then we have what's called the mini canopy, which is about a foot square in size. And then we have our full-size canopy, which is basically 6 of the mini canopies. And then we have another device, which is the helmet, and that device can help for mental issues, for brain injuries, for concussions, for PTSD, TBI, all of those kinds of things. And there's new research out there that shows it could be helpful for not only strokes, but dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's, and just different brain issues. Our plans are to move this technology into every area of the world where there's pain and inflammation, which is basically everywhere, and to expand that so people understand all the applications where this technology can be used to help them in their health in the body as a wellness device. People are looking for how they can treat themselves without drugs.
So I'd like you to mention again that in the chats that we have, that if you'd like to put your questions in, we really appreciate if you have thought of a question. Don't wait till we get into question period, because it's a lot easier to have the questions ahead of time, and we will then try our best to answer as many questions as we can, and where we can, we'll provide links to information that could be helpful. So with all of that, let's go to our video. So Allan, it's great to get to connect with you again. It's been a little while.
Yeah. I mean, we've touched base here and there, but yeah, I haven't sat down for a while and really gone through the details of what I've been doing, with what you've been doing. I know you're all over the place all the time, right? And I'm trying to get there as well with the stuff I'm doing personally, and
Right.
it's with with the animal kingdom, and well, we'll get into it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
going down
So,
a different route with the money versus the charity, and doing the right thing, and and the through goodness, the money's going to come. That's what
Yeah,
I believe,
yeah.
right?
So, Alan, you and I, we got to know each other because we've been both in the electronic field. I've been in electronics for 40 years. Alan
Yeah.
was working with various companies. What was the first company? When did we meet?
So I don't know if you remember this, Mark Brown.
Oh, all right. Yeah,
Mark
that goes.
Brown introduced us. I had come back from Hong Kong working, right?
Yeah,
And I'm trying to think how far back.
that's got to be about, oh, well, it's got to be 20 years ago.
Oh, easy. So I came back. I hadn't seen Mark for since I'd left. I hadn't seen Mark for over 20 years and myself, 25 years since I left to go
Yeah.
overseas in 91.
So what I cannot
And
remember,
then
what company were you with? It was electronic parts of some kind, wasn't
no,
it?
I had so I'd been working. I just come back from overseas and I was bouncing around trying to get my feet again, looking for technology companies. And what had happened, like I talked to Mark and he brought me to your place. It was at the old building out on the
Right.
service road, right on the service road. And I'd say we kind of hit it off because I'm a nerd too. So I mean,
There
I'm
we
into
go.
all the nerdy. My interest, I did do in school. I did electronics, but computer electronics.
Yeah.
So that was where I'd started, and then I moved into to other areas. But he we I had been talking to you, and here's where we ended up connecting. The first thing is I had been interviewed at a company in Mississauga,
Hmm.
a Mississauga company to be the product manager for their blue light technology,
Okay.
and you had a history with them.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
and the light, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that company, those so and so, such and such guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then you were talking. I saw the product sitting there. You're in
That
your
was the dental light. That was the dental
yes,
curing
yes.
light.
And I
Yeah.
saw it and I said, oh yeah, they interviewed me, product manager, right, to take over the product line and that. I didn't take the job. It didn't work out. And then you told me the story behind them, good, bad, and ugly, and what it was, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was, that was but I remember that, and you were talking about the camera going down the well, the
Oh,
drill.
yeah. Into the oil wells.
That one,
Yes. To do
the
the videos and
yep,
pictures and
the clamp going onto the hydro wires
yep.
and
Yep. The
monitoring.
power monitoring
You
device
do know,
there. That.
you do know, Tom. I remember everything. I remember
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh
everything.
no. Oh no.
So that's where we were at, and um, I was doing triathlons then, and was got you showed a few things, and then Mark disappeared off the scene. Whatever happened, I haven't seen
Yeah.
him since his fatal decisions with his ex, his
Right.
angel wife that he had.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. So I haven't seen him since then,
Yeah.
and then we just started connecting, right, with sports, and me and my doing world championships and triathlon.
Yeah,
It,
and then I think one of the things that happened was you used the light somewhere along the line for treating something on your body. And then I know there was the one time that you wiped out on your bike and went over the
yes,
handlebars.
yes, that was in 2020. So that was long into it, right? We're already 20, already 20 years into our relationship by then.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that accident, if I pick up on that, 2020, I was out, just doing a training out. Not even a training ride, just a pleasant ride. Usually I ride down to Niagara Falls way
Now,
from
just to recap here, Alan's a professional cyclist, I would say.
well,
That's the way.
at 60, Tom, I'm not professional anything anymore. But yeah, race for race teams, cycling and triathlons, race for Team Canada. You're like age group. So yeah. So I'm an elite. You could say I'm an elite athlete, right?
Right.
And and well, before getting into the accident, right, I would use the light, the bed, right, the bed technology. I got the first handheld you did.
Yeah, the Genesis
Um,
Health Light,
yeah,
the looked like a hair dryer, but that,
yes, yes. I mean, and I would use that on more focused area and muscle tissue in my legs, calves, right? But when I'd done a big workout or I'd finished a race, I would show up at at the lab.
yeah,
You'd let me use
the big bed.
the tanning bed, right? So I get in the
Yeah.
full body.
Now,
Um,
this was a modified tanning bed with the Genesis technology in it, with the water filtration.
Water
If you
cooled, yes.
remember, halogen bulbs in there, about 18. You were laying on about 1,800 watts of halogen light,
Mm.
which wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the special filtering that we had, that we did and got patents on and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
and yeah, I mean to try and explain to people the experience even before the accident, doing it to recover, using it as a recovery tool.
Right.
I would do a race, triathlon, which let's say it was a 2 to 3 hour race, right? So
Yeah.
I'm doing a 2 to 3 hour race, and most people after those races, if they've done it hard, would have to take 2, 3 days off. And if I'm going and lying in the bed and using the light, I'm out the next day training again.
Yeah, you don't have that long recovery time.
Which which I mean, when people hear that, they find it hard to believe. They really find it hard to believe.
Yeah.
But I mean, proof's in the pudding, right? So
Yeah, it
that's
helps.
just regular recovery. That's regular workouts for me and doing hard and recovering.
And
In
the science is it helps move the lactic acid out of the system and helps the blood cells and everything, like all the cells, to start doing the repair they need to do, and that's why you're able to
2020,
move.
so no, yeah, normally, and I mean, my, I know that device and using that device basically accelerates the natural process. Half the time it would normally take people to recover injury or recovery from a hard workout, it would be halved.
Yeah,
Half the
that's
time.
that's tremendous. Like that's
Right.
you couldn't get a super drug to do that, like that, it just doesn't work that way.
Well, you know what? If you're going to use pharmaceuticals, yeah, you'll be up and running around and doing stuff, but you'll be re-injuring yourself and continuing to injure yourself.
Yeah,
You're not
that's
repaired.
you're
You're not
masking
repaired.
you're masking the symptoms is
Bingo.
what you're doing. You're not
Right?
repairing
Yep.
the problem.
Any of that. I mean, and I know, we know. You take an ibuprofen, you're not repaired. You're now working through an injury that's exacerbating the injury. With the LED technology, I still feel everything. It's this the pain is diminished and helps you cope, but then I'm out working out. Like I said,
Yeah.
the next day I can start ramping up again.
So the
Um,
coolest one we
yeah,
won't get
go.
into the cat story, but that was cool. That I'll just summarize that one. Alan
Yeah,
got the panel light to try out on his cat, and his cat ended up going from one room to roaming the neighborhood after using the light. But
yeah.
because
He was,
he had because he had bought the light and had the light on hand, you went and wiped out on your bike pretty bad.
yeah. I was and this wasn't even a hard ride. This was just me going out on the trail here in town. Um, Casual, right? But now you're on a trail and it's crossing streams, and I wasn't even going fast, but it was during COVID, so they were short-staffed at the city, and they hadn't done repairs on these trails. And I came to a bridge, and it was pavement, right? It was paved, and then or asphalt, and then the bridge was concrete. I came down the hill towards the stream and hit the concrete abutment with my tire, went straight up in the air, landed on my head, and my bike flies off to the side. I literally, I'm lying there on the ground. A couple people heard me hit the bridge, and asked if I was okay. You know, one woman asked me if I was going to get out of the way, which was unbelievable. Like, you know, here I am, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. Like, if there's any time that I thought I was going to die,
Right.
this was it. I couldn't breathe. I'm lying down. I'm going, okay, I'm going to get up. And I stood up, and I still couldn't breathe. I couldn't get my breath, couldn't get my breath. I'm lying down. It got worse again. I stood up again. So I'm done. They call 911. They come and get me, and you know, I'm getting back. I got my breath back. These guys show up, and they strap me into the gurney. I didn't know at the time I had two broken ribs, and they have to strap me into the gurney. I'm going, you know, I'm making jokes as I do.
You're killing me.
I was making jokes. They strapped me in. I'm going, we have to do it. Yeah, and they took me, and they took my bike too. Took my bike to the station. So then they take me down to the hospital, and you know, I mean, get in there, and they do the X-ray. Sure enough, two broken ribs, collapsed lung, and I got out of there, and I think I'm trying to think about it.
Yeah, just during COVID. So they actually you had the X-rays that proved that you
Yeah.
had the broken
it
ribs.
was done. I'm trying to think when I went to your place. That was the morning. Yes, that was the morning. I believe I actually went there in the afternoon to go on the bed.
Right. Yeah, I think, but you had
So
already.
I was out of there by 1. I was in at 11, out by 1. It was what it was, and I went there. I went to your place, and lay on the bed that day, and then this. No one believes this one, Tom. Next day, I was out on my bike.
Yeah, and they told you that you were going to be in pain for a long time.
Well, so fifth and sixth rib on the left side lateral, right? One of the worst places you can do it because it's where your ribs expanding, right? They fold there when you breathe.
Right.
So that's the fifth and sixth there, and then at the lateral side, right on the side, and next day, well, that day I go and I went on the bed, and then next day I went on the bed again. Well, but I rode my bike out to your place. So that's what I did. 20K. I did a 20K ride out to your place. Got on the bed, did it. That first night's sleep was uncomfortable, and then next day, perfect night's sleep, no more pain.
Yeah, and you know, I got to just interject with one story here. Is a guy also cracked his ribs, another guy, a young guy, and he was very much an athlete, and he could do one of those things where you put your hands on a bar and then hold your whole body up. You know, you just kind of raise it up and you balance yourself on your two arms. You know, I probably need about 6 arms to hold me up, but he did it with 2 arms. And he says, I just fractured my lungs because of whatever he did, ribs. And he says, I can't even right now, it's hard to breathe. And I can't even put any weight on my, like trying to brace myself and lift myself up. I mean, that's all the muscles here, but you're still affecting the ribs, right? You're putting some pressure on. And so he turned around. Remember my chair that I made as well? Yeah. So he turned around in the chair, the light chair, which is like 1,800 watts of electrical power, about 400 watts of optical power coming off that thing. And he turned around and he instead of sitting into the chair, he turned himself around to get the light on his chest. And he did. And he did like a 20-minute treatment that way, turned around, facing the chair with the light hitting his chest. And he says, that feels so much better. And then he goes on that bar and picks himself up he like puts the
Yeah.
whole his
Yeah.
whole body weight on his arms, and he's kind of horizontal. Like everybody was blown away because they knew he just fractured his ribs, and here he's being able to do that. So the
Yeah.
same type of thing. It's not hard to believe for you and I, but most people out there, they have a hard time believing that this technology
Oh,
can make such a difference.
I've met, so when I, after I'd met people who have had broken ribs, and people, basically, you know what they say to me when I tell them the story? You never had broken ribs.
Yeah, well,
And
but
so what happened here, right? So I'll continue. So I was going down every day, which, every day to the bed. And if you recall, and I,
and you had the light panel too. You
and that,
started
well,
using the light panel
I
too.
ended up buying the light panel after that,
Yeah.
but I was going down every day to the bed, and then I purchased the light panel. But what had happened is,
That's one of these guys for all those
yes,
that
yes,
are
yes,
wondering. And so that has the two wavelengths, the 660, and also the near infrared, the 810, which you
yeah.
can kind of see just glowing there. You can kind of see the little dots. But anyways, that's what he used as at home.
And I was basically keeping my tissue saturated, right? I was keeping it so it's using the energy as it gets into the ATP, but I'm at the same time I'm just refilling it during the day. So I would do 3 4 half-hour sessions every day,
Right.
morning, right? And so then what's happening is I'm still going out and working out. 4 days afterwards, I was running. I was running with 2 broken ribs. And I talk to people who hear my story, and they're going, "You just didn't have broken ribs. There's no way." And I'm going, "Well, wait a minute. No, no. I have the first X-rays. 15 days in, I had to go to. Well, I actually had to go the 2 days later and get it re-X-rayed to make sure the lung hadn't collapsed more, and it was fine. So 15 days in, I go back to the hospital because they want to check how it's healing. They want to see that everything's okay. I go in there. Okay, it's an emergency. Okay, go. I go and I get the X-ray. The technician from the X-ray lab comes downstairs with the doctor, and they're like, they got my charts, and they're like, "Are you sure you broke your ribs?"
Yeah, but there's the X-rays.
There's no, yeah. Well, that's what they were dumbfounded. They got the broken rib one the day of, and they got the 15 days later, and he said, "There's no sign that you ever broke your ribs.
Yeah.
There's
See,
no
this is
sign.
what
There's
people.
no scar. There's no scar. There's no
Yeah.
sign that you broke your ribs."
The healing
Yep.
that can take place between joints, you don't end up with the scar tissue forming. So you don't,
The calcification that happens.
yeah,
there.
and you don't even see then, because it's healing so well, you can't even visually see that there's
Yep.
a problem. And that was what they were blown away with. There was no evidence that you broke your ribs, but they looked at the other X-rays. It's kind of like with me. Remember, I'm sure with the COVID, I think we talked about that,
Yeah,
but
lungs.
I had double lung pneumonia. My oxygen was
Wow.
like 80%. Okay, I put the oxygen meter on my finger before I went in, and my son Andrew said to me, "Dad, I'm going to take you into the hospital because you're not thinking clearly." I was messed. 80%, your brain is not functioning.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So I went into the hospital. They did the X-rays. They did all blood work, heart work, everything. And they said, "You got really bad double lung pneumonia." What actually saved, and I was at 80%, like going in. And the next day in the morning, I did the oxygen again. It was 80%. I even bought a second oxygen meter. That's kind of like our thing, right? If you're not sure, let's just make sure. We buy another meter. I put the meter on it. It read exactly the same as the other meter. And the best thing that happened was they discharged me from the hospital. This was during COVID.
Yeah.
And they probably shouldn't have discharged me with a blood oxygen of 80%, or at least given me an oxygen tank to go home with. But I did my lungs then with the same canopy that a mini canopy that I showed you used, and I used, just that I just showed you. And in 2.5 weeks, my oxygen was slowly coming up. Like it was, if I did the light treatment, it would go jump 1 to 2% and then fall again. And then 1 to 2%, like 1 to 2% about an hour or 2 hours after the treatment. And then it would fall. And then it go, and slowly I was making incremental improvement. And then what happened was 15 days in, actually it was 2.5 weeks in, I started coughing all of a sudden so bad. Now my oxygen had come up to the low 90s at this point, but I was coughing. I mean, I thought I was going downhill. Now I'm going, I'm doing bad, you know, but I didn't realize that's really your mechanism of clearing. You know, I still wasn't thinking clearly.
The mucus has got to get out, right?
Yeah.
You can't digest it in your lungs, so you got to either cough it up and swallow it, or cough it up and cough it, right?
Right. That's it. So I went back in and I said, I want another set of X-rays. And first thing they said, are you sure? You know, that's a lot of X-ray on you. I says, no, I want to know. Hey, like, right, Alan, we want to know. Hey, like, what is
evidence, Tom? Evidence. The only way you can make a decision is with the right information. That's evidence.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So I got they did the X-rays again, and the doctor I had this time said, she says, your blood is really good, your heart is good, but your lungs are exceptional. Now, the crazy part was they didn't want to know what I did. I says, look, this is what I did. You saw that they said your lungs have so much improved over the X-rays from 2.5 weeks ago, but they weren't looking for any help with people with lungs. Something's wrong there.
I have a COVID story too, Tom. I had COVID about 2 months ago.
Okay.
And so I'm getting tightness in my chest, shortness of breath, couldn't taste, couldn't swallow, right? I mean, the usual suspects, you know.
Yep.
So I'm isolating. I'm isolating. So I'm not going to the gym. I'm just going out walking. But I have a rowing machine in the basement, and I basically was doing the canopy light
right.
on the near infrared, both front and back.
Yeah, and the near infrared has no problem penetrating the lungs.
Yeah, and I was doing it for extensive periods of time. Again, hours a day. You get it. But you know what I did is I wanted to see how you know, it's hard without having the oxygen reader to know what's going on and that. So what I did, you know what I did? I went on the rowing machine. and I know what my times are.
Right.
I know what my times are for my rowing, and I was using this, and then I went on the rowing machine. I have COVID. I know it's, you can feel it. You know there's something going on. Well, my times to do 2,000 meters went from 10 minutes and 20 seconds to 9 minutes and 45 seconds.
Even during
COVID.
Yeah.
With COVID.
Yeah.
So, I mean, am I sick? Yes, I'm sick. I know I'm sick. I know what's going on. I don't feel 100, but the oxygen uptake improved that much.
There you go.
While I was sick.
We've seen like when we did when we wanted to do our trial. I don't know if you knew this. I had 3 hospitals lined up to use the mini canopy for the lungs during COVID, and we had Health Canada approval to go forward with the study. We had money behind us. We had 4 researchers on board. We had the PI. We had the 3 hospitals lined up in Montreal. Everything ready to go, and for some reason, upper management canceled the study. And I found out studies all over North America were shut down for.
I wouldn't doubt they were, and you know what? It doesn't take anything away from the facts that it works, but probably the challenge they were probably inundated with people making claims, Tom. Right? They're
but
probably
that,
inundated with people making claims.
but we were paying for a study.
Yeah,
That
well, there
was
you go. That doesn't make sense then. That doesn't make sense.
no, this was not, we weren't burdening their system. We
Yep.
paid for our researchers to be on board to do this and to
Hmm.
do the treatments, and everything was lined up. So nah. Anyways, I know what we're gonna have to do. We're running out of time here, but
Yeah, I knew it. I
I
knew
knew it. We're gonna have to do a Allan Crowe Part B
it.
coming up.
We
Okay.
got to, yeah, there's, look, we're going to have a few things to talk about. I can tell already, Tom. We
Yeah.
have a few things to talk about.
Hey, it's
Yeah,
great
I
to.
was gonna.
Yeah, it's
There was
great to.
something else. There was something else in there with the ribs and all. Ah, well, you know what? We've done it. We've covered a lot of a lot of racetracks just within that the ribs and my sports stuff. I mean, I can share all kinds of sports stories too. But
Yeah, we're gonna go
you
there.
know what we'll do? We'll have a. We can talk about. We got the lungs. We can talk more about the sports stuff. We can talk about the business
Yeah,
of the horses and the business of the dogs.
right.
And I can tell you where things are going and what's happening. Oh, the one thing I wanted to tell you about the lung, about the ribs.
Yes.
You know what I did? I mean, you don't know this, but I dropped it. I'm big into AI,
You did which?
artificial intelligence.
Right.
Yep. You know what I did is I took those X-rays and I ran them through a AI and said find the breaks in the first set of images,
Really?
and then I did it in the second set. I'd have to. I think I'd have to do it again, and it could find them in the first set, couldn't find the break in the second set, and that's artificial intelligence. And there's no fooling that stuff.
That is so cool. Hey, all
So
right, I have to.
I'll try and run that through again for you,
Yeah,
and we can do a short
yeah,
discussion just on that. And you know what? And that AI stuff in looking at pictures is way better than people.
yeah,
Nothing gets past it, right? Nothing gets past it.
yeah.
So
Okay,
we'll do
on.
that.
Hey, I want to thank you for coming on board and taking some time out of your day to spend a little time and share with the audience here uh,
Oh,
as to what this can do for a person's body and life and health.
I get
So, and we
again,
have only scratched the
just
surface.
excited. You get me excited about it too, Tom. Believe me. You know,
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It was so neat talking to Alan and to know him and to know how he made out so quickly his improvements because of using the light right away and in his situation. So we do have, I'll take time right now to explain a little bit about the products for those that are unfamiliar with them. We have a series called the Palm Lights. That's these devices. They have a considerable optical power coming from this device. So you can actually see it coming right through my hands here. That's the red 660 nanometer. And the Ultimate, we have the Professional and the Ultimate. Both of them have the 810 nanometer, which is almost, it doesn't look very bright. You can see it there, but it's actually very, very intense. It has this similar type of power with between 150 to 180 milliwatts per square centimeter of energy coming from this full 40 square centimeters. We have then the next device up from that. So we have the Professional, the Ultimate, with the Ultimate a little more powerful, and then 25% more power. And then we have what we call the Super Palm, and that has the 660 nanometer wavelength, and same as the Ultimate, but it has another wavelength here, which is 1050 nanometer. Now, if I look at it, I can't see it at all. You will see it on the screen over there as some dots as well. That is 1050 nanometer. Now, if you could use a near infrared camera, which we've done before, you can see the light going right through my hand on the other side with the 810 or the 1050. So the 810 and the 1050 are near infrared, and they're able to penetrate deeper, much deeper, as a matter of fact. And then you get to the 1050 nanometer on our Super Palm, and you can even help that to go a little bit deeper. There's new, more recent research out there for the 1050 that they're using that more for stuff to do with the brain. And part of the understanding on that is that the 1050 can penetrate a little bit deeper, and the 1050 nanometer actually works on the water. It's called something called structured water. There's more research that needs to be done on that, but they feel that the very thin layer of water within your cell, somehow the light is able to help that become more effective in the transfer of the different things within the cell. I can't explain that very well, but others can explain it much, much better. So we have those devices, and then we have what you saw earlier. This happens to be our mini canopy. This mini canopy is 15 of these units. So the nice thing about the mini canopy is, with the very large treatment area, if you're trying to treat your back, a large area of your back or your neck, or yes, you can use this, the palm light, to do around the neck, but you can treat the whole area at one time. Treatment of the lungs, treatment on other body areas, does it all in one shot, where this takes a little more time. Then we have the helmet device, which is this one here. And these are available in the 660 nanometer wavelength. It's on a stand. We provide our units with a stand, and then it has the 660 nanometer wavelength and the 810 right now. Now you see it just glowing. If a person wants to, they can purchase our the 660 1050 nanometer wavelength helmet. It does come in as a premium item. So there's, because the LEDs cost more, and that's what we do. So I want to come back to one other thing about our lights. Is some would say, hey, I've got these panel lights, like you can buy them at a much less cost. The thing about it is, you can see here, you might not be able to see it, but you can see that we have a lot of high power LEDs on this device. I think when I turn it back on, well, it's hard to see. You can see it there. Okay, you can't see it there. Anyways, this has, like, these panel lights are so far out, and so they're not dense. The power is spread out over a much larger area. So if you were talking of some of the other panel devices, you'd have to take ones that are like this big and then squeeze them right down to about this size, and same thing the other way. And now you're getting close to the power, that density that you have on our mini canopy. Then we also have the canopy, which is just 6 of these devices to cover a large area. So great for clinics, these devices. So that gives you an idea. And I think now what I'll do is get into some of the questions that are coming up. So let's go for the first question here. Okay, so are Baker cysts easy to release with infrared therapy? And we had an individual on, I think it was a couple months ago, in our videos. Definitely Baker cysts can be significantly improved and just beautifully released from what, with the swelling that's going on. So yeah. Let's see. I'm just 1 second here. Okay, yeah, the next one. Okay. Okay, there's sorry, scroll up a little bit. So one person, Jamel, says, I can personally confirm that red light therapy is a curative with stroke, post-polio patients, and many others. So yeah, we've had very good results with people with difficult situations, especially when it comes to strokes and being able to see. Um, okay. Question comes in about MS, multiple sclerosis. We, I do know of one person in particular that's just because that's all I've had come toward to try this and purchase this mini canopy, and they found that it gave them a lot more strength. They were already in a scooter, and that's how they got around. They could get up, but they had the braces on the legs, and it really helped her. She says it gave her extra strength in her legs. Okay, Brian, with your question, any success with melanoma? We can't treat any cancer or anything like that. That is something you will have to, follow through with the normal treatments for that. And I just want to say up front here, I'm not a medical doctor. I know different doctors, and there's a lot of great doctors out there. And so anyways, we're trying our best to help you to know how to use this light. Now, speaking of how, there's with the light, if you're trying to treat something like your hands, something that's fairly thin profile, you're looking at 1 minute of the red and 1 minute of the near infrared is plenty. 1 minute of the red, 1 minute of the near infrared. You'll probably get all that you need, and if you can do that 2 or 3 times, that would be great, and do that, and you will see a reduction of pain and inflammation. If you're trying to treat something more like your elbow, much thicker profile, so now you're going to have to spend more time with that elbow, and maybe you're going to spend on the upwards of about 10 minutes around that elbow. Shoulders a little longer than that, and out to 20 minutes or so. And what you will find is that you'll get to know how much you need to get the results. But sometimes there's the odd person that's sensitive to light, and it's very slim, like it's maybe 1%, something like that, where they just need to start off very slow, using a little bit of light and slowly graduate. But 99% of the people out there, they can go right at it with longer treatments without issues. So if you're trying to treat your hip with our devices, the palm lights, if you use the super palm, you're looking at something that could reach to the hip joint and be able to help that. But you're going to spend then maybe a half an hour over the whole hip. My suggestion is that you would use about 3/4 of that time being the near infrared, because near infrared penetrates much deeper, whereas the red 660 does not. But why do we use then red if it doesn't penetrate as deep? Well, it turns out that red is very beneficial to the blood circulation, so you're going to improve the blood circulation. The cells can actually absorb that wavelength, so there's other things that happen. So even though you may not have as much depth, you're affecting the blood in the area, and that's going to the whole area. So we always recommend that people start with using the red. I've talked to different ones, different researchers, and they believe the same thing, that it's probably best to start off with the red light, get the blood flow going, and that would be helpful. So a question comes in here from Trish. Have you ever had anyone use the light for symptoms of Lyme disease? Yes, we have. And what Lyme's disease can show up as pain in different parts of the body, and it is it's very difficult. You are not going to eliminate the Lyme's disease. I shouldn't say you're not going to. You probably, if you do everything right, nutritionally, you name it, you might be able to change that outcome. But when it comes to Lyme's disease, it appears as problems in different parts, different joints, different pain across the body. It's a case then of, can it help? Well, it definitely can help reduce the inflammation in the area so that you have less pain and can get around better. So yes, with this, Susan is asking, would this be helpful for sore knees? Absolutely. We've seen so many people helped with sore knees. As a matter of fact, one of the women, she was more senior. She used one of our older light technologies, and she was using a walker. And when we, about 6 months later, with her using it daily, she was able to walk around without the walker. So tremendous improvement in reducing the inflammation. And there's possible, if, depending on your age, depending on a whole bunch of factors, you may actually start getting into actually healing some of those areas of the knee that are things that are thought to be impossible. So there's torn cartilage that we've heard about that has repaired. But those are difficult things, so I'm not promising. The human body is very unique and different from one person to the other. We all eat differently. Our backgrounds are all different, so we can't promise anything, but we have been able to see very good results on all different kinds of issues on the body. Jamel is asking, what about adhesive capsulitis of the shoulder? I can't say for sure, Jamel, but again, it comes down to, over time, the light just helps the cells get the energy they need and the immune system, and it bolsters the immune system. And then your body can start doing the repair that it needs. So, yeah. Does light on bone arthritis treatments show promise? Yes, very much so. So osteoarthritis has been helped. The biggest thing is the long-term use of the light. This is not something, generally speaking, you're not going to use this one treatment and then your pain is going to go away. It does happen from time to time, and that's always fun to see how much improvement people can get in even a couple treatments. But a lot of times, in order for your body to heal, healing process can take months. And so if you keep flooding the area with red and near infrared light, that part of the body can start to heal. We've also seen with different autoimmune disorders help with that as well. So let's see, other questions? I think we caught up. That's great. Just let it go for a moment here. So I'll just mention something about LEDs and lasers. The one thing that we've been able to see is I did a study at University of Buffalo. We had a very special device that would allow me to measure light extremely accurately inside of a ball. It looks like an exercise ball. It's an expensive one at that. It's about $10,000 new for this ball, but it's an aluminum ball with a very special white coating on the inside wall. And any light that comes into the center will, whether it's coming from a laser or from an LED source, will go into the ball and bounce around. And by the time it does like 5 bounces, it's so uniform inside that just putting you have a little port on the side, you can put a sensor in there, so you can accurately calibrate this ball for how much power is coming in. So it doesn't care whether the photons with so much energy behind it come from a laser or an LED. Well, what we were able to do is put a stack of steak, one steak, 2 steak, 3 steaks. These are good sized steaks, like 3/4 of an inch. And we went through 2 1/4 inches of steak, and we used the laser and we used the LEDs, and what we were able to show is that the light was light energy, whether it came from a laser. Now the laser, we could pull it almost, if it didn't have a diffuser on it, we could pull it like 3 feet away, and as long as we aimed right at the center of the stake, we were getting the same light level. Now that would not happen with an LED. An LED is basically, the way we've designed it, is that it'd be right on the surface like that. There is a little distance inside, and these bumps on here are just to allow airflow to go in so we can get maximum power without overheating the tissue. That's why those bumps are there, allows airflow. But we compared our device, which is the Super Palm with the 1050 nanometer, approximately 6 watts of energy coming out of it, compared it to and then we did something so it actually was very similar with 5 watts, compared it to a 5-watt laser. Now this laser would have been running somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000, and in this case, our device is $1,900. And in the end, after we went through whether it was 1 stake, 2 stake, or 3 stakes, it didn't matter how, because whether it was a 5-watt laser or 5-watt LED device, as to the measurement of power coming through the tissue. So for deep areas, there really isn't much difference between the two. And I think more research needs to be done in that field, but I did present that at the PBM 2024 in England, and I got some really good feedback from different ones about how they appreciated us looking at this type of measurements. And the other thing is that we did not only steak, we did pork chops. And we did 1 pork, 2 pork, 3 pork kind of thing, chop. And we also did it with chicken. And we did chicken breast tissue, and we layered it. So we got it the thickness that we did, 3/4 inch, 1.5, and 2 1/4. Ran our different devices at 660 nanometer, 810, and 1050 against the laser, and we were able to see the same energy coming through all that tissue. So if you really have too much cash in your pocket, you can go out and buy a laser, but in all respects, you can get that kind of energy at a fraction of the cost using our SunPowerLED palm lights, or helmet, or mini canopy, or our large canopy. So any of those devices have the power to go deeper. It's just when you use the 1050, 810 or 1050, definitely there's a lot more energy going through. So what Jean is at? Jean-Ann, I think it is. No, Jean. Jeannie, I guess. Jeannie, what would help with leftover cough from pneumonia? Definitely this kind of palm light can be used with the 810 or the 1050 to reach inside the lungs. We had an individual like myself who had the COVID, and he had basically the long haul symptoms. He wasn't getting any better. He was running around with an oxygen bottle, and he started using this light on his lungs. He couldn't go to work. His blood oxygen was around 80%, 79, 80. And he was flatline, like he wasn't improving over a month's time. It was actually longer than that yet. And that's when he decided I contacted him. He got one of the palm lights and started treating his lungs, both front and back. His wife helped him on the back. And within a few days, he noticed his oxygen level significantly improving, to the point where within like 2.5 weeks, I think it was, he went back to work. Of course, here, we'll show you how cough works, talking all about it. But the other thing is, we've also seen for COPD and asthma, cases where people have actually noticed an improvement in their lung function. One of them had commented to me that she had done the light treatment in the morning, and she in the evening, like just I guess just around closing time for one of the places she wanted to go to, she ended up running from her car to the front door of the business. And she said, normally, she says, I just realized that I did this run, and normally she would be wheezing, trying to get breath. And she said that didn't happen. And it blew her mind that that's how much it helped her. So I think that in those cases, somebody's going to have to use it for the rest of their life. But hey, what about having treatment every day? You brush your teeth every day. It takes a little longer to do this, and it could be quite helpful. What wavelength is the best for dementia? And as it occurs, either 810 or 1050, like new research is happening in those areas. And so either 810 or 1050. I would probably lean to the 1050, but it is more expensive. But if not, I think the ultimate with the 810 would work out quite well to try and help that condition. Either the ultimate or the super palm. Can the mini canopy hit 1050? And that's by Jamel. Yeah, we have the 660 810 that I just demonstrated, and we have a premium mini canopy that has the 660 1050 nanometer. We felt that the 1050 and the 810 are similar in some ways in the near infrared region. So we didn't mix the 810 and 1050. We have either a model with the 810 or the one with the premium with the 1050 nanometer. Yes, Brian, good question. Does each device have a small fan built in? Absolutely. That is part of our equation, why we can have so much energy coming out of it. That's one. And the other equation is we are not, there's no batteries in this device, no rechargeable lithiums. And the reason we did that is because to run this thing, you'd need a great big battery on this thing to run it for an hour. So we don't supply, it's plugged into the wall, 24 volts. This is extremely safe. And you plug that in and you can run, because there's no batteries, you can also run this for 24/7. You're not going to have any problems. And the LEDs are actually, the LEDs that we use are based on 50,000 hours. LEDs, that's with a rating of like 80 degrees C, which is pretty hot. That would be 180 Fahrenheit. I'm doing a quick, guess, but pretty hot. And you can get like 50,000 hours out of them. But we are running our LEDs because of the fan cooling and everything, we're running them at like 45 degrees C, or probably around 120 Fahrenheit. So it's really running cool compared to what the LEDs are designed for. So that's why we can have longevity in this. A new thing that we also were able to do is, because I'm just going to show you a photo here, because we have because we don't use lithium batteries, we actually, I don't know if you can see that. There's a woman that's actually been using it, giving it a try to try and help her with she's got pretty much full blindness, and we've been able to see some help with helping the eyes to improve. And if you can see better in this picture. I don't know if you can see that little slide up window, but that is on an airplane at 35,000 feet. So we were borrowing power from the first class section, we were able to get the adapter plugged into the seat, the row of seats in front of us. The one guy was good enough to allow us to use that, and that allowed her to have the actual treatment. So there's no, without lithium batteries in it, it's very safe on, if you like to travel, you can throw it in your carry-on and take it wherever you want to go, and that way you don't lose it. Luggage has a great way of going to different places than the place you are going to. So it's great that you can have this nicely tucked into your carry-on luggage. So I think that answers all our questions. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Please remember that we will do the same thing next Tuesday. Please join us and tell your friends about us, even though that lowers your chances of winning a bit. But no, please tell others to come on board and watch this webinar, and we'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can. We will be giving the topic out later this week, and we will also, please go to SunPowerLED, go over to the past videos. You can watch other videos that we've done in the past, as well as if you go on to our research page, the research tab, go down, you can see the PBM 2024, the presentation I did in England. You can also see the presentation on the presentation on our light being used, our helmet being used for opiate addiction and depression. We had a beautiful outcome that's now published on, there was about, it started off with about 50 people involved. Half of them were getting the light treatment, half were not. And those that did over the course of 2 months did really, really well. That was fantastic news. And these people only had the treatment was only 2 times a week for 3 minutes, and it had a profound effect on them. So we've also been able to, there's new studies that are happening. If there's somebody out there that is connected in the research field, we'd love to see more studies happen. So please connect with us, and we'd like to see what we can do. But I do know that there's a study now beginning, a few case studies with Parkinson's, and we've been able to see dementia and other things helped as well. So we're hoping for more research with our devices. So please connect us to others, and thank you for joining us tonight. All the best, and may you be richly blessed this week, hopefully with less pain.